Hey there, fish keepers. Today I'm going to talk about one of my older setups in my fish room. It's currently housing Crenichthys baileyi in basically a species tank, but this tank has been set up since about 2010. I'll just go over the basic equipment that's with it and the plants and fish that are in it first, and then I'll talk about the history of this aquarium. So as you can see, it's set up below one of my 75s near the floor. This room is heated to 72 to 74 degrees. Sometimes it'll get down to about 68 though. And this tank is lit by an old National Geographic light, which has been on there for probably 8 years. And it is 10 gallons, has a gravel substrate, one of my few tanks that has a gravel substrate. But it's been going a long time, so about 16 years. So lots of bacteria in there that are doing some good work, denitrifying ammonia. And it has a Aqueon hang on the back filter on it. It has a moderate flow, actually pretty decent flow for this size of tank. The filter has been working really great. This tank basically never gets any algae. It's very low light, so really the only plants that can grow in it are anubias, which you can see it's mostly an anubias tank. There's also a little bit of Crypt lutea and Crypt wenti that's in there on the right-hand side. And the main inhabitant, besides the fish, are orange Neocaridina shrimp that I've had going for about 7 or 8 years right now. And it's a mixture of a few different additions that I have, not just one colony, but a bunch of colonies that have been absorbed together. And they're doing pretty decent in there. But I think the Crenichthys take out a fair number of the babies. So it's not, the population is not exactly exploding in it. If we look at the fish that are in here, you can see them kicking around. Crenichthys baileyi. From Nevada, a species that has a really restricted area. It's a Goodeid, but it's an egg-laying Goodeid, and a really beautiful fish. You can see that the males here with their black stripe on them are quite pretty. The females are fairly plain, but still a nice-looking fish, and they often display and reproduce regularly in this aquarium. But the thing that I love about them the most is that they're not really terribly shy, and they display quite a bit. And the males are quite spectacular, and they're breeding in my aquariums too. So you can see these guys here. The male is displaying to the female, and he gets a black line on the top of his head, which he uses to entice the female. Now, these guys are Goodeids, but they're an egg layer, so they're substrate spawners. They don't lay a lot of eggs. I just have fry seem to pop up in the tank every once in a while. But you can see here he's got her lured into a corner and is ready to do the deed, and there they go. So they just scatter a few eggs there. And they don't predate on the fry too much. I've found the fry just coming up in the tank. But never a ton. And the males can be quite aggressive with each other. These guys here, the tank seems to be big enough for the two of them, but they'll spar quite frequently, and they really turn on the colors when they're sparring, but they don't really ever hurt each other too bad. So I've had another male previous to these ones, who are the fry of that male, that was just ultra aggro, and he killed every other male that was around him and eventually killed the females. So, but the room is quite a bit smaller tank than this one without as nearly as much cover. So I think that it was just the tank size, and you need to have a bit more room from them. The Goodeid working group suggests 20 gallons. So these guys are actually in a little bit smaller tank than they should be. If we look at the history of this aquarium, it contains some historical ornaments. These ornaments that you see in here that are more prominent, the log on the left-hand side is from the 70s, was my pride and joy when I was a kid, and it was a good spot for fish to hide in. And then the little house that's near the center of the aquarium there was my first fish ornament ever. I got it when I was 3 or 4, so in the early 70s, with my first goldfish bowl, and I've had it ever since. It's always had a place in my aquariums that's got the nostalgia going for it. And the uh, diver on the right-hand side, if you can tell it's a diver, is from the kids. So this tank has quite a history. It's been doing multiple duties over the years. So it was first set up for my daughter, Kayla. She wanted guppies and shrimp and dwarf aquatic frogs, and they did really well. Every once in a while, like a guppy would pass away, and there's a guppy graveyard in my backyard. We must have buried 10. They all had grave markers and names. And then Kayla, I think she had it for like 2 or 3 years, and then she wanted dwarf hamsters, so she moved the tank along to Ashley. Not that she didn't like it, she just ran out of room, and the tank had been there for a couple of years, and the dwarf hamsters were new. So Ashley took it on, and the dwarf aquatic frogs, I would always help them feed. So they'd mostly bloodworms or brine shrimp, adult brine shrimp, frozen bloodworms or frozen adult brine shrimp. But after a while, there was a colony of red cherry shrimp that were in there that really reproduced well, and basically all the dwarf aquatic frogs ate were red cherry shrimp, and they did really well. They were quite the little fatties, and the tank at that time was almost all Java moss. It was completely covered in Java moss. The Neocaridina shrimp had lots of places to hide, and the dwarf aquatic frogs would occasionally find them. And then later on, after the guppies kind of petered out, my daughter Ashley got some leopard danios, which were good companions for the dwarf aquatic frogs. They ate most of any kind of flake food that was put in there, or if I put in bloodworms, they would just pound it. But the dwarf aquatic frogs went strong on the Neocaridina shrimp. And then after that, I've grown up all kinds of blue eyes in this aquarium, and had other random fish that have been in here, mostly fry that I've grown up over the years, mostly blue eyes. And then I moved it over to the just a species tanks for the Crenichthys baileyi. So this tank has put in a lot of work over the years, and it's still doing really well. Right now, it houses the Crenichthys baileyi, and it seems to be a great environment for them. The males aren't fighting too much, and hopefully we'll get some fry out of it here fairly soon. And yeah, then I'll have more Crenichthys baileyis to spread around to the local fish keepers here in Alberta. Hope you enjoyed this story. Happy fish keeping!